Well, welcome back to the studio. I'm going to be working on these chili pepper Ristras. I originally washed those in with alizarin crimson plus liquid. And what I would do is after I got it all washed on solid color is then I would take a clean brush and lift off the color. In fact, I can still do that just a little bit. That paint's still a little bit wet. But you can see how I dip my brush in thinner, and then I can come back and I can, well, that's dry. But see here, I can lift that color off, and that gives the shape of the chilies. Now I'm going to paint this opaquely, and I'm using mixtures of cadmium red deep plus magenta. That's my dark red that I'm using here. And then I use cadmium red deep, which right now I'm still using the magenta and cadmium red deep. Now this is cadmium red deep. And I've decided I'm going to make my chili peppers a little bit bigger. Since my heart wreath over here is made with the little narrow peppers, I'm going to have a little variety here and make these peppers a little bit larger. Now that's pure cadmium red light. You can see the difference in my values, the darks and the light. So I'm making these peppers then a little bit bigger than I originally had planned, but I just want to add a little bit of variety. And these you see everywhere in Santa Fe. This is a southwestern thing. They grow these chili peppers. Their food is full of chili peppers. Jackson, my friends, always called us bland and blanders, so we didn't really go for the real super spicy food. But if you like spices, boy, you'll like Santa Fe cooking and their spices. It's always hard for us to eat out and find food that wasn't so spicy that we couldn't eat it. But we managed. We just had to tell them to tone down the spices a little bit. I paint my dark first. And I put quite a bit of paint on the brush. I want these to be very textured. It's just like when I painted the tree leaves, and I want these flowers, the chili peppers, the tree leaves, I want them to have a lot of texture. I want you to be able to feel the paintings. And this Ristra is coming down, and I'm going to make it a little bit longer, just so it kind of breaks in front of that shelf, just a little bit. I don't want to cover that shelf entirely, but I do want the Ristra to just break down. What that does is by bringing the chili Ristra in front of that little shelf, that helps give the painting depth, because you feel that that lets you know that that shelf is behind the Ristra. And I'm using a bright brush. This has a square tip on it, and it's very easy. I can just turn it sideways and get the shapes of my chili peppers. And I'm using reference. I have my laptop on the taboret to the right side of my easel, and that way I have my reference material. I just pull it up on my laptop and I can refer to that as I'm painting. Now this is pure cadmium red light. Now here I'm mixing a little bit of my cadmium red deep into that, because I want that to go back behind. These are going to break. This strand of Ristras is in front of that other one, so I want it to break in front of that, so I use a little brighter. In fact, I'm going to add just a touch of white into that cadmium red light. I'm not going to answer that when I'm painting. you can just get too many interruptions by answering emails, answering the phone. So I just leave all of that. If it's important, they'll leave a message. If it's a sales call, they won't. And most of the time, the calls you get these days are people trying to sell you something, and I get tired of it. So I just do not answer the phone while I'm working. I'll take a break. I have to go to the restroom or something, and then I'll check messages. I normally don't look at my emails then until I break for lunch, because you can just all of a sudden lose a half an hour or 45 minutes, unless of course I'm working with a collector or a gallery on something special and I need to kind of keep a watch for their email. Now I'm coming back, I have a little magenta here just to the side that I'm keeping, that I'm using to make the darks. In between the individual peppers. You get the shadows where you have some depth in there. And then I just use that. And go back in here. You can see that I've made these a little bit fatter chili peppers. There's all kinds of different chilies. I'm not an expert on them, but there's a lot of people that can look at one and tell you, oh, that's a this and that's a that. And I don't know. Now, on the tops of these little Ristras, they have a little straw, kind of a little top on them. Not sure what you call that. That rattling you hear is just I have my tissue on a wire with a hook underneath my palette that I can just grab it with my left hand, and I only have to have one hand to tear off the tissue, and I'm constantly wiping my brush. The secret to clean color on your canvas is a clean brush. So that's, I wipe it 2 or 3 times and I throw it away. If you hold on to it too long, you end up getting paint all over yourself, your face, your clothes. So I just hang on to it a few times and then it's into the garbage. And I'm just using some of the color I have left over from the ground, the little gravel road that is in front of this fruit stand. I save all my colors. I put them on the left side of my palette. My palette is a glass palette. It's about 4 feet long, so I can put a lot of color over to the side. My mixing area is about 2 feet wide, and then I can put extra color over to the side. That really helps if I need to go back, I want to work on something a little bit more, or like here I need a little creamy color that's to make these little pieces of straw. So these chili peppers have a lot of texture in them. I'm just adding a little bit more light onto these. And as they go around, they get a little less light, so I'm using the cadmium red deep. And when you're buying paint, I don't recommend buying the cadmium hue colors. I really recommend, it's more money, but you get much better color if you buy the pure cadmium colors, particularly cadmium orange. Cadmium orange hue goes pink, when you try to mix with it. It's just, believe me, Jack and I have tried them all, and through our experience, that's what we've found. So you can't make a good painting if you don't have good paint. And the brand we use, Winton oil, it's made by Winsor Newton, and it's a great paint. It's not as expensive as some of the others, but it is perfectly good. Jack has used the Winton oils on $60,000 portraits, so it's an excellent paint. We get it in the 200 milliliter tubes. They're big tubes. We go through a lot of paint. So the Winton oils are they call it a student grade paint, but we find it perfectly good. Never had an issue with it. There's some colors that we can't get, like the turquoise that I've used on the little fruit stand. That's called turquoise phthalo blue. Now that's something you cannot get in the Winsor Newton Winton oils. We go to, I think it's Rembrandt. Let me pull up a tube here and see. Yes, here's the phthalo turquoise blue, and it's a Rembrandt oil color. So there are some colors that we have to go to other brands, but for the majority of our paintings, we've always used the Winton oils. I'm going to bring one of the chili peppers in front of Tika's tail. Again, that just gives the painting some depth. I'm going to let a little bit of my straw top come down there. Just kind of delineate the pepper from the trees in the background. I appreciate you watching my YouTube videos. Please feel free to ask questions in the comments section and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I also have a blog where I show the complete step-by-step process of this painting. If you want to see it from start to finish, go to my blog. The link is in the description below. It's also on the final frame of my video. So while you're out and about today, just be encouraging to people. If you see somebody doing a good job at something, say, hey, you did a great job at that. So be an encourager. And you have a wonderful, wonderful day, and happy painting.